Hello everyone, thank you for your interest and your participation to EpiMed Open course. So today we'll start next session of this course, session 3. And this session will be dedicated to some tools that we developed at EpiMed platform, and we would like to share them with you. Initially, we have developed these tools in the frame of our project, our work, to facilitate our work with omics data, but finally these tools are very basic, very fundamental, and can be applied to any project when we need to analyze omics data. So we would like to show you the tools we have, and probably these tools will be interesting also for you. When we work with omics data, very often we need to update a list of simply update a list of gene symbols. So I would like today to show you how can we easily do it with EpiMed Database. First, one may ask, why do we need to update our gene symbols? And in fact, if you have already an experience in analyzing omics data, you know that the measurement we have in omics data are always related to genes, to transcripts, to proteins, and these genes, transcripted proteins are presented are annotated as gene symbols or gene identification numbers or protein identification numbers, transcript identification numbers, which comes from a certain public databases. Very often we have gene symbols, for example, from Ncbi database or gene symbols from Ensemble database. And the problem that sometimes we need to convert the gene symbols from one database to gene symbols from another database. For example, if we have data which are presented in Ensemble as Ensemble identification numbers, sometimes we need to convert the identification numbers to Ncbi gene symbols. This is one of possible application. And another one is sometimes when we work with proteins, for example, we need to know what are the genes corresponding to these proteins, or what are the transcripts corresponding to a certain gene. So to make relationship between protein genes, transcripts, and different in different databases with different identification numbers and so on. And the last problem that we can have that the identification numbers of genes, proteins, transcripts in different databases are not fixed. They are constantly changing with the time. And for example, when we have a gene symbol, today we have for one gene a certain gene symbol, tomorrow the same gene will be named probably with another gene symbol. And sometimes we need to just to update the gene symbols and gene names and gene identification numbers. This happens very often in Ncbi database with gene symbols. The gene symbols change literally every day in Ncbi database, and also in Ensemble database the changes are very common. So we need often to update gene-related data. And here on this slide you can see an example for one gene, NAT-M1, which is a test-specific gene. And here, for example, here you can see not all, but a selection of possible alternative names, aliases for this gene, which is NAT-M1, but also can be, this gene can be named like this. Very often it's named as NAT in publications, but in fact it's the same, it's an old gene symbol for NAT-M1, and now it's named NAT-M1. Here to the right you can see also the representation of this gene, relationship between this gene and the probe set on the methylation array, and for example, expression array for transcriptomic data. We have the probe set, and we need to make links between the probe set and the corresponding genes. So if we have only one gene, one gene symbol to update, it's very easy. We don't need a specific tool for this. We can just go on Ncbi website to put this identification number in the web form, and immediately we see the updated, the current gene symbol for this gene, the current gene title, and also the identification number, gene ID, or sometimes we call it interest ID, for the genes. Of course, you have also many useful information about the gene, the corresponding protein, the corresponding transcripts, and many useful information on Ncbi website. Is very nice. But if we have not one or just a few of gene symbols, but a long list of gene symbols to update, for example, 100 or several thousands of gene symbols, it can take a huge amount of time to do it manually, one by one. Of course, Ncbi offers a programmatic way to access their databases and to query Ncbi databases with a code, but we need to create queries with a code. We need to code this, and it's not very easy for people who are not very familiar with coding. So to address this problem, we created our own tool online inside the EpiMed database that help us to update a list of gene symbols very easily. We need just to be connected to EpiMed database, then to select gene annotation tab, to select update a list of gene symbols, and to put simply all the gene symbols that we would like to update, and we can mix different classification systems. So we can put gene IDs from Ncbi database, we can put different gene symbols, current or old, previous gene symbols, the probe sets for methylation arrays for expression data, the accession numbers from Unigene, from UCC, from Ensemble, Uniprot, and so on. And then the tool will look inside EpiMed database the corresponding updated gene symbols. If it finds the result in EpiMed database, so it will be very quick and you will obtain the result. But if it doesn't find, it will query different databases, distant databases for you. You don't need to create queries in code. This application will query different databases behind your initial query. And the result, you obtain the result in format of an Excel file or CSV file, so in a structural format that then you can process with your code, or if you want to create graphs and so on. So it's rather easy and user-friendly finally. So now I would like to show you how we can work with this application, to present you a very short demonstration, very short tutorial. And then when this demonstration is finished, I would like to propose you to go to a quiz and to play yourself with this application. Try to respond, to answer some questions that I prepared for you in the quiz, to see if you can use the application or not, if you understand or you don't understand. And if you have any question, please send an email to the mailing list, which you can see here. So let's try together to use EpiMed database to update some gene symbols. Let's try, does it work? First, we need to go to EpiMed database and when we are on the website, we go to Gene Annotations tab. When we open the Gene Annotation tabs, we can see different possible action. There are 3 possible actions, but today we'll just explore the action update a list of gene symbols. We can go there, and let's try some gene symbols. And we have already seen in the presentation. We need just to precise what organism we would like to use. So here Homo sapiens, because these genes are related to Homo sapiens. We can also do the same for mouse, but we don't propose other organisms. Let's add also some Ncbi identification numbers, just gene IDs of Ncbi, which are simple numbers. For example, 5, 10, I don't know, 20 probably. They are just arbitrary numbers. They are probably genes which correspond to these numbers. So let's see together. So you have some possible gene symbols, gene identification numbers. Let's now to see if to which genes it correspond. So we submit the query, and then when the query is finished, you can download the results in Excel format or the results in CSV format. So I will choose Excel format, but it's the same result, just the format is different. When you choose it, so you download it, a file, and now let's open the file. I will do it a little bit bigger. In the first column, we can find exactly our input when you put in web form. Then the second column is tax ID, is the identification number of the organism. Here the identification number, this identification number means that this is Homo sapiens. Then we have the corresponding NTRES identification number. NTRES is the same thing that gene ID in Ncbi database. And the corresponding, the current gene symbol. So, for example, I did not know, but 5 correspond to this gene symbol and 10 correspond to this one. And as you can see, in our input there were some old gene symbols that now are renamed, and the current gene symbols are like this: NAT-M1, BRDT, ETA2, TP53. So then we have the next column is just a title of the gene. The next 2 columns are location and chromosome. The status tells us if the gene is actually active or removed from the database or replaced. Sometimes it's replaced. Usually it's active, but now you can see for this gene, for example, is no more used in the database. It's removed from the database for some reasons, and it's not used anymore. Then we have the type, protein coding or non-coding RNA, for example, we can have, or pseudogenes or something else. The feature is it's very special. We can just skip it. You will almost know information about this. The aliases. The aliases are different names for the same gene. So previous gene symbols, identification numbers from other databases, probably corresponding, yes, also corresponding proteins, corresponding transcripts. So many different other annotations for the same gene. And finally, the database corresponds to their source of this information. So when we queried the database, the result was found in EpiMed Database. So for this query, the application didn't ask to other distant databases. All the information was already present in EpiMed Database. So that I think that's all. You have all the information. It's very simple, but it serves. It can be very useful and speed up your analysis. So now you have the demonstration. It's your turn to play with the application. So the quiz is presented like this. You are given with some identification number for genes in Ncbi identification number classification. And you have here 3 questions that you need to answer by using the EpiMed database with the application to update gene symbols. So if you have any questions, please send us an email to the mailing list, which you can see here. And good luck. See you next time.